Hello again, Guyana, and welcome to another edition of West Side Story. I am Malika Ramsey, and we're returning after a quick break because we took a break to facilitate the FIFA World Cup. And I know most of you are very excited about that and so into it that we had to take a step back and allow that to be facilitated by NCN. Of course, as you know, NCN was the sole carrier for the FIFA World Cup football, the 2018 FIFA World Cup football. So we're back now, and I'm happy to tell you that this week we begin with a young lady who's been an outstanding example for so many to follow here, right here on the West Side in Region 3. It's not the first time she's appearing on West Side Story. We were introduced to her maybe about 2 years ago or so, and this time she's returning to tell you all about her recent experience with the Queen. So since I say the Queen, you know I'm talking about Miss Marva Langevine. But we'll take a quick break and we'll come right back and have that conversation with her as we continue here on West Side Story. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on West Side Story. As I promised you earlier, we're back with Miss Marva Langevine, and it's a pleasure to have her back here on West Side Story. Marva, welcome back.
Thank you, Malika.
When you said thank you, I was expecting to hear somewhat of an English accent. You know, we always laugh that Guyanese change their accents even before we leave the airport here. So I was expecting the English to come out. But on a serious note, though, let's get to it. You recently returned from visiting the Queen. Tell us even before you tell us what the experience was like, but why were you there? I mean, I know most of Guyana would have heard the stories, but I prefer when it comes directly from you. Why were you there?
Yes, I was in the UK for 10 days, along with other young leaders from across the Commonwealth for the Queen's Young Leaders Residential Program. And the Queen's Young Leaders Award is an award that celebrates and supports young leaders from across the Commonwealth who are making change within their communities or countries. And I was awarded to represent Guyana and my organization, Guyana Golden Lives Organization, which provides support for bereaved children. Those are children who have experienced the death loss of a parent or a loved one.
Okay, all right. And we're going to get to that project, because I know 2 or 3 years ago when you were here on West Side Story, you talked about that and how you got interested. And it really is a unique purpose. And I know it started because you went up for a pageant. You were a contestant in a pageant, but we're also going to get to the pageant soon to find out if we'll see Marva strutting her stuff on the stage again. But even before we talked about that, we saw all of those fabulous photos with you meeting the Queen and so on. What that experience was like for you?
It was surreal. I was so nervous. And she asked me, when I went to collect the award, she asked me what I've been up to these days, and I told her about all the work that I've been doing. And I remember she said, "Oh, that's wonderful," and I don't remember anything else. I blanked.
Okay. So you have an actual award?
Yes, a medal.
A medal,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry, I didn't walk with it.
Yes, we should have asked Marva. So if at least the closest I could have gotten to it is by just trying it on, you know. But next time. All right, Marva, let's talk about your project. And this is going to take me back to 2 or 3 years ago when we spoke. You were on the path of using it for a beauty with a purpose, for a pageant. First of all, tell us about the pageant, more so specifically, how has it helped you to launch into this project of yours that more or less would benefit children?
Yes, definitely. 4 years ago, I lost my friend to cancer, and she had 2 young children that was left behind. And her mother decided to look after the children, and 3 months after she died, her father died. So that was double tragedy in the family. So it was a financial strain on her, but also I saw how it affected the children, and I decided to do something about that. And 2 years after that, the Miss World Guyana pageant came up, and my friends like, "Marva, go do the pageant. And I was a bit hesitant at first, but then I realized I had a bit with the purpose aspect, and that's a charity work. And being the person that I am, when I do something, it has to be with a purpose. I have to get something out of it. And of course, I love taking pictures and modeling and all of that, but the Miss World Guyana and the Miss World pageant on a whole is not only about beauty, it's about beauty with a purpose. So I decided to enter. And at first I didn't know what I wanted to do for my cause, because I said, okay, there are lots of organizations for cancer, suicide, mental health, and I wanted to do something where there's a need. I know I sat and I prayed, and Makisha was my friend's name. Her name came to mind. And that is how I started doing the work that I've been doing on that platform. And Miss World Guyana pageant, it really gave me the platform to spread awareness, because I was already doing work with the children that I know, and getting the award also, it gave me that exposure and that extra push to go on from there. And when we last spoke, I was telling you about all the plans and dreams I had for the project. So 2 years later, here I am, Queen Young Leader, and finally getting the support and resources that I really needed to have a wide impact across Guyana and hopefully the region.
Okay. Are there specific, what it be, ministries, non-governmental organizations that you've been able to tap into to take this cause further and make it stronger and make it better? And apart from that, do you find that Guyanese have latched onto it, in a sense, for want of a better word, the way they would have latched onto causes for suicide, drug abuse, violence against women, domestic violence? Do you find that Guyanese have somehow latched onto it and are ready and understand that, look, this is also a cause that we need to be working for and fighting for?
Personally, not as yet, because death and grief is still a taboo topic. More persons are, yes, being aware and saying, oh yes, I never noticed that before. But in terms of latching on and just being fully on board, that is not a reality.
Take some time.
Yes, it's going to take some time, and my team is very small also, and this is an area where we might provide financial support, but also I need that professional aspect, that counseling and mentorship, somebody that's going to be there for these children, because experiencing grief is a normal emotion, but it can become traumatic or it can lead to future psychic disorders if they don't know how to cope with it in healthy ways. And in terms of other organizations or government ministries, thankfully, since I've returned, the Minister of State, Mr. Joseph Harmon, he reached out to me, and he said he's going to pledge his full support, especially for any work I have to do within this region, Region 3. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm hoping that going forward, especially Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, they're going to come on board, because I would like to do grief in the workshop, grief in the classroom workshops for teachers, and of course doctors and nurses. I would like them to have some form of education on grief, because I know they deal with a lot of death or bereavement in the hospital there. So just to create a language of collaboration where everybody can just come together and do their part wherever they can.
And as far as you know, you're the first, especially young person, to come up with this initiative for Guyana, not only for the region, but for Guyana.
Yes.
All right. I want to talk about, because viewers, you were listening to her and you know this is an outstanding young lady, and sometimes I say we're at a stage in Guyana where we like to preach and shout from the mountaintops that our youths are the future and they're the future leaders, and we don't give them enough exposure and but again, enough time and enough airtime. And Marva, I want to talk about you, the teacher, because there's also the teaching side of you. You just mentioned hoping to take it into the classrooms and so on. Let's talk about what do you teach, the age ranges and so on, and how is that going? Because we all know dealing with teenagers can be nerve-wracking.
Yes, I've been teaching for 5 years. Persons might say, oh, you're so tiny, and I teach secondary school, but trust me, when I'm in school, it's totally different, Marva or Miss Langevine, you're gonna see. I teach Spanish. I love languages, so I teach Spanish, and I know a little bit of Portuguese, and I'm currently employed at the IFA Secondary School. My students might say, rumor has it, that I'm very strict.
Wow, that's a good thing.
But I'm loving. I love young people, and when I was young, I had an entire team of mentors who were on my back, who was always on my back, telling me, Mark, you're destined for greatness, we're here for you. And they were there for me every step of the way. So I think that it's time for me now, even I'm still young, there are persons under me that I can give back the way persons give to me, and just encourage other persons to be a mentor, make a difference.
Okay. All right, great. It's so wonderful to chat with Marva. Of course, I'm just going to give her about 30 seconds to say anything that she'd like to say, because, again, since she's returned to Guyana, so many of us, especially the media, we've, in a sense, bombarded her. And so I'm just going to give her an opportunity to maybe say thank you to people who are close to her and so on, that, she would like to. Because in everything that we do, even if it's just one single person, there is always somebody there pushing us. That we need the support, and we really can't go forward without it. So I'll give you this opportunity to, give your regards to people who you may have so far forgotten because you're so bombarded by so many of us.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I would just like to thank God for giving me this vision and just being there with me throughout the past few years. I'd like to thank my friends and family, my father, my mother, my closest friends, Marcy, Lily, and also Region 3 also, because when I was in the pageant, the REO, Mr. Jai Karan, also Sherry Gold, Slingers Entertainment, Two Brothers Gas Station, all of these businesses, they were there for me in the beginning, you know, when persons didn't really understand the cause. So I would just like to thank all my sponsors, all my friends, all my family for always being there for me, always supporting me, because honestly, I didn't have all the skills, but I had a vision and I had a passion. And without these persons, I could have not been here today. So thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Marva, for making us not only in Region 3, but in Guyana, for making us so proud. And best wishes to you.
Thank you.
All right. Viewers, that's, of course, that's it for this part, the beginning of West Side Story. You know, as usual, we like to tell you what's happening in terms of the physical changes for betterment, of course, regarding the surroundings here on the West Side. So we'll come right back with you as we come to an area where a physical change was recently made, and of course you'll have more of West Side Story. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us here on West Side Story. Now we're at Greenwich Park in Virgin Ocean, and I'm thinking, since we've been doing West Side Story for about some 3 years now, this is the first time we're actually doing something in Greenwich Park, Virgin Ocean. And I see my cameraman is shaking his head because he will remember most of the villages and the communities that we've gone to. It's a very hot day, and we're happy for that. Of course, as you know, this is a community, so a young lady just rode by and said good morning. So we're going to say good morning to her, even though she has already gone by. But these are the things that make West Side Story really and truly very special, because we come into the communities and you get a feel of love and concern and everything else in its natural state, apart from the studio programs that I would usually do. Today we're at this bridge, and I'm happy to have, for the first time on West Side Story, Pastor George Stewart. He's going to tell you about the bridge. And Pastor George Stewart is an APNU AFC counselor, and we're happy that he's one of the counselors in place. As you know, all of these organizations, groups and so on, these help to contribute to what His Excellency the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, David Granger, constantly talks about, and that is providing that good life for all Guyanese. And that is one of the things that West Side Story is designed to do, to remind you of how the government has contributed and continue to help to provide that good life for all Guyanese. So we're standing on a, almost on a brand new bridge, and as I said before, APNU AFC Councillor Pastor George Stewart is here to tell us about this new bridge, how convenient it is, and what really was happening before this new bridge was built. Pastor Stewart, as I said, welcome to West Side Story. It is so good to have you.
Thank you, Malika. Indeed, it's a pleasure for us here to have this bridge. This bridge, it used to be a wooden bridge, and every 3-4 years, there's a problem. People cannot walk over, drive over. This bridge, before this construction, we had to be pleading with the NDC to have a bridge, because several planks were out. People had to walk and jump over, and car coming in the night was a problem. And the government would have seen it so fitting that not to build a wooden bridge, but to build a concrete bridge, which we believe is going to last for decades. And it's indeed a very good thing for the people in this neighborhood. We are grateful for the government, who does not only look at where the supporters are, but they build construction, bridges, roads, wherever it's possible and wherever it is needed. And for this, we are grateful to the government for building such a bridge like this.
Okay. All right, as I continue to talk with Pastor Stewart, what I'm going to ask our cameraman to do is to zoom. So because, and viewers, I must remind you, we're shooting this episode of West Side Story when school has been closed. So the little ones are at home, and we saw about 2 or 3 little girls rode past already. So we're going to ask our cameraman, as I continue to talk to Pastor Stewart, just to give you an idea. You know, Pastor Stewart did just moments ago said that he's happy that, you know, the government saw it fit to build a concrete bridge instead of another wooden bridge. Pastor Stewart, let's talk some more about how many persons in the community this really and truly facilitates.
It facilitates about 5,000 persons.
Wow.
Walking and driving. Because students use this bridge to come out from the village to the highway to catch bus. And then you have workers, you have a lot of cars. They all use this bridge. Thousands of people. They're all grateful for this bridge. They couldn't wait. Even when the contractor was finished, he, it was a norm that would take about a month or so to let the concrete be cured. But people couldn't wait. They want to come over. And so that is the reality of this today, this wonderful bridge.
Right. We're so very happy about that, and our cameraman is going to take some more shots because I did tell you that school is currently closed when we're recording this edition of West Side Story, and we can see two little boys are walking across the bridge, and then there's another vehicle and so on. And as you know, one of the complaints when we don't have proper roads and proper bridges in our country is that it's an additional burden on drivers because you have to spend more money to upkeep your vehicles and so on. So we're really and truly happy about that, and again, it's all in the name of providing that good life for all Guyanese. Right before we wrap up from this location though, I'll ask Pastor Stewart to say some other things to you that, you know, in terms of what he has seen in terms of government efforts, especially not only to develop this community but other communities in this region here on the west side. As you know, our program facilitates and focuses actually and highlights what is happening and the development happening in the region. Pastor Stewart.
Yes, thank you. Now, if you look straight in front of you there's a school. But the government recognized that that school was a little of an hindrance to the people. And so a new school that we're going to go to just now was constructed so that the residents can be much more happy, the students can be more, they're in a better position to study. The government has been doing a lot of good for us. Unlike the previous government, where they will build a road and stop at a presumably PVP person, they stop just there. That road was completed by this government. I probably will show you the road. Now these are some of the things that what I like the government for. They just build because they see the need. They're not looking at political situation or what. There's a need, and therefore the bridge or the road is to be built where there's a need. And that's what I am very much glad for this government.
And as you know, we can't move forward and we can't do anything properly without giving thanks to the Almighty. And this also is a first for West Side Story. Pastor George Strode is now going to pray for the community and this entire area.
My loving God, indeed we give you praise and thanks. Thank you, dear God, for the wonderful opportunities that were offered to us by this government. We thank you, dear God, for this bridge, this massive structure that will benefit so many people in this neighborhood. We thank you, dear God, for the bridge and for the use of it. We pray, dear God, that there will be no obstacles, nobody will sabotage this bridge, but the bridge, O Lord, will be used. Bless it, O Lord. Cause your Holy Spirit to be on the guard for this bridge. We come against all the works of the enemies who would want to destroy this structure. We plead the blood of the Lamb, and we thank you, dear God, for what you will do and continue to do for us in this community. Amen.
Thank you very much for staying with us here on West Side Story this week. Well, we're going to prepare to wrap up our program. But before we do that, we have another addition, another physical upgrade for you. And this time we're at the Philadelphia Primary School. We're still in Virgin, mind you. Philadelphia is one village after this, I was told, because I'm still learning the West Side too. But it so happens that the school is in this community, Virgin. And we're going to be talking to Pastor Stewart again, and he will tell you about the addition that more or less strengthened the building of itself. It strengthened the structure, and it gave the students that come here much more space. And as you know, that is very, very important, because one of the things that this government continues to stress is the importance of our young ones and strengthening the education sector. So we're happy that a school in this community has recently had additional works on it to make the students of the Philadelphia Primary School here much more comfortable. Stay with West Side Story. In less than a minute, we'll be talking to Pastor Stewart. As I promised, Pastor Stewart is back with us. And for those of you who are now joining and you don't know who he is one of the APNU AFC counselors for this area, for this community where we are. And I just introduced the area and the fact that we're at the Philadelphia Primary School. And again, education is so very, very important. But now I'll hand you over to Pastor Stewart, who will talk about what the addition really was and how important it was for the young ones, especially of this particular community in Region 3. Pastor Stewart.
Yes, thank you, Malika. Now, indeed, I love what the government, when they say something, they mean. They're talking about education and they're very much concerned. This school, it was at an old building and the children could not have studied the way they wanted because of the environment. The government sees it fit to come and erect this building. But the parents and other people, when they saw the size, notice the size of this post, they are very narrow. And being a caring government, they would want to ensure that the children are free from any kind of incident. And so they construct the downstairs now that would reinforce the building. And I think everybody now is happy. We are grateful for this building because our children are indeed happy. As a matter of fact, since this school opened, the very first year is this year. And we have got one of our young students was able to attain bishops.
Right.
And that is a very good sign. And we have got much more to see coming out from this institution because people are much more happy now. So I think it's a good gesture for the government to have built this school here. And children are indeed using all the facilities. Another girl, she did well too, but she's going to a senior secondary school. But all in all, students are much more happy now. They are much more relaxed. They can study more, and they have nothing to bother them.
Okay, all right. Pastor Stewart, unfortunately, this is where we have to bring the curtains down on our program. We want to thank you very much for being a part of West Side Story. It certainly was informative and interesting. Alright viewers, I must say to you, I know some of you are at home and you're wondering why we can't go in the building, but remember this is I don't know why we're in Guyana, we're suddenly calling it summer, but school has been closed for the July-August vacation period, so unfortunately we can't get inside the building, but you're gonna have to take our word for it. Trust me, all is well on the inside. This is where we have to bring the curtains down on this week's edition of West Side Story. Thank you so very much for being a part of us and staying with us as always. And we want to thank Marva Langevine also for appearing on our edition today. Until next time, I am Malika Ramsey. Thanks for watching.